The cargo freighter drifted through the debris field like a phantom, its hull scarred from years of interstellar trade. Captain James Rivera stood at the viewport, watching the wreckage of what had once been a diplomatic vessel spin slowly in the void. His crew had picked up the distress beacon 3 hours ago, though by the time they arrived, there was nothing left to save. Nothing except 2 small pods, their emergency systems still blinking in the darkness. "Captain, you need to see this," his first officer called from the cargo bay. James descended the narrow ladder, his boots clanging against metal rungs. The 2 pods lay open on the deck, their contents wrapped in thermal blankets. 2 children, no older than 5 or 6 in human years, stared up at him with eyes that shimmered like liquid mercury. Their skin held a faint blue tint, and delicate ridge patterns traced their foreheads. They were Velian, a species known for their strict caste system and ceremonial culture. James had dealt with Velian merchants before, but never their aristocracy. "Any identification?" James asked. None. The pods were stripped of everything except life support. Whoever put these kids in here didn't want them found. The twins clutched each other, trembling despite the warmth of the blankets. The girl's silver hair fell across her face as she pressed closer to her brother. They spoke in rapid, frightened whispers, their language musical and strange. James knelt beside them, keeping his movements slow and gentle. "Hey there, little ones. You're safe now." The boy, slightly taller than his sister, met James's gaze with surprising steadiness. Despite his fear, there was something regal in the way he held himself, as if some ancient instinct told him not to show weakness. "Do they understand Standard?" James asked. "Doubt it. Most Velian children don't learn it until adolescence." James made a decision that would change 3 lives forever. "We're not turning them over to authorities. You saw what was left of that ship. Someone wanted them dead. Until we know more, they stay with us." The twins, whom James named Leo and Luna for simplicity, adapted to life aboard the freighter with remarkable resilience. Within months, they spoke fluent Standard, their quick minds absorbing everything around them. James taught them navigation, basic engineering, and the 1,000 small skills needed to survive in space. They learned to laugh again, though sometimes he caught them staring at the stars with expressions far too old for their young faces. Years passed. The twins grew tall and graceful, their alien features becoming more pronounced as they matured. Leo developed his father's sense of justice and fairness, often mediating disputes among the crew. Luna possessed an uncanny ability to read people, seeing through lies and pretense with ease. They were brilliant, compassionate, and utterly human in all the ways that mattered. James never told them about the sealed data chip he'd recovered from their pod, the one his first officer had missed. Some instinct told him to wait, to let them have a childhood unburdened by whatever truth it contained. On Leo and Luna's 18th birthday, James's ship docked at Terminus Station for routine maintenance. The twins wandered the market districts while James handled paperwork, their matching silver hair drawing curious glances from passers-by. They'd just purchased supplies when a commotion erupted at the station's main concourse. A Velian delegation had arrived, their ceremonial robes sweeping behind them like liquid night. At their center walked a woman whose face held the weight of terrible grief. Her eyes, the same liquid mercury as the twins, scanned the crowd with desperate hope. Luna grabbed Leo's arm. "That woman looks like us." Before either could react, the woman's gaze locked onto them. She froze, her hand flying to her mouth. Then she was running, her dignified composure shattering as she stumbled forward. "Kale! Lyra!" The names tore from her throat like a prayer. The twins stood paralyzed as she fell to her knees before them, tears streaming down her face. Her guards surrounded them immediately, weapons drawn, but the woman waved them back. "My children," she whispered in perfect Standard, reaching out with trembling hands. "My babies. I thought you were dead." "We don't know you," Leo said, though his voice shook. "No, you wouldn't remember. You were so young." The woman composed herself with visible effort. "I am High Queen Nisara of the Velian Dominion. 18 years ago, my consort and I were traveling to a peace summit when our vessel was attacked by rebels. We put you in escape pods, hoping someone would find you. We thought if the rebels discovered you'd survived, they would hunt you down." Luna's hand found Leo's. "What happened to your consort?" Pain flickered across the Sara's face. "He died ensuring those pods launched. I survived only because I was in a different section of the ship. James arrived at a dead run, having been summoned by station security." He took in the scene with growing dread, his hand moving instinctively to the data chip in his pocket. Nisara rose, her eyes finding him. "You saved them. You raised my children when I could not." "They're good kids," James said quietly. "The best I've ever known." "I can see that." Nisara's voice held genuine gratitude. "You've given them something I never could have provided in the palace. They carry themselves with humility and kindness. These are rare qualities among our nobility." Leo stepped forward. "We're heirs? To what exactly?" "To the throne of the Velian Dominion. To 17 colony worlds and 100 billion souls who have mourned your loss." Nisara's expression grew serious. "The rebels who attacked us were defeated, but our society remains fractured. Many houses vie for power, and succession has been contested for years. Your return changes everything." "We're not Velian," Luna said. "We're human. We grew up on a cargo ship." "You are both," Nisara replied. "And perhaps that is what our people need. Velians have always been rigid, bound by tradition and caste. But you've lived among humans, learned their adaptability and innovation. You could bridge 2 worlds." James pulled the data chip from his pocket. "This was in their pod. I never opened it." Nisara took it with reverent care. "Thank you for protecting them, for giving them a choice." Over the following weeks, the truth emerged. The chip contained royal identification codes, family histories, and a message from Nisara's lost consort. Leo and Luna watched their father's final recording, tears streaming down their faces as he begged whoever found them to keep his children safe and let them grow up free from the burden of crowns and courts. The decision was theirs to make. Nisara never pressured them, though her hope was evident in every glance. The Velian Dominion needed stability, needed heirs who could unite fractured houses and bring fresh perspective to ancient problems. Leo and Luna spent a week in meditation, consulting with James and speaking long into the night. Finally, they called a meeting with their birth mother and adoptive father both present. "We'll accept the responsibility," Leo said, "but on our terms. We're not abandoning our human family," Luna added. "James is our father. The crew of his ship are our brothers and sisters. That doesn't change." Nisara smiled, and it transformed her grief-worn face. "I would expect nothing less from children raised by someone so honorable. The Dominion will gain not just heirs, but ambassadors to humanity." James felt his throat tighten. "You don't have to do this for duty. You can choose whatever life you want." "We know," Leo said. "But we've been learning about Velian culture. They need change, and maybe we're positioned to help provide it. Besides," Luna grinned, "we've always wanted to see 17 colony worlds. Beats hauling cargo containers." The coronation ceremony was unlike anything the Velian Dominion had witnessed before. Leo and Luna insisted on wearing modified uniforms that blended royal regalia with elements of their freighter crew jackets. James stood beside them as they took their oaths, no longer as a cargo captain, but as the royal guardian, a newly created position that made him family in the eyes of Velian law. In their first address to the Dominion, the The twins spoke not just in formal Velian, but in standard as well, declaring that the future belonged to cooperation between species. They opened trade negotiations with Earth, established educational exchanges, and began systematically dismantling the most oppressive elements of the caste system. Not everyone approved. Conservative houses muttered about human contamination and abandoned traditions. But the people, especially the young, saw hope in these heirs who'd grown up among the stars. Leo's fairness and Luna's insight won them allies, while James's steady presence reminded them that family was built through love, not just blood. On quiet nights, when the weight of responsibility grew heavy, the twins would find James in the palace gardens. They'd sit together beneath alien stars, and he'd tell them stories about their childhood aboard the freighter. They'd laugh about the time Luna accidentally vented the cargo bay, or when Leo tried to cook dinner and nearly set off the fire suppression system. In those moments, they weren't heirs or royalty. They were just three people who'd found each other in the darkness of space and chosen to be family. And perhaps that was the most human thing of all.